Welcome to a very special episode 16 of On the Shelf, the series. I am your numismatic host, Mike. Welcome back again, thank you. Today we have with me Tim. How are we doing, Tim?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Excellent. So, hey, fun fact, folks. Tim's my brother.
Yes.
My little brother. I've known him his entire life. Um, so I know all about Tim. Tim, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, grew up in the bunk under you in Queens. Yeah. Grew up in the bunk under you in Queens. Um, I grew up in Queens my whole life. I lived there until college. And then for the job, I started bouncing around a little bit. Now I live in Buffalo, New York. Two kids and collect a whole bunch of stuff because I have the same disease that you have.
I don't know
So,
what you're talking about, dude.
yeah, I have the same disease that you have. So, um, today we're here to talk about my currency collection, my historic U.S. paper currency collection,
Now
which is
it's crazy, folks.
possibly the nerdiest thing that
No,
I could possibly collect. But here we are.
I think it's awesome. See, because now it's funny because I had up until like a couple years ago when we were talking about what to get each other for holidays for Christmas and stuff.
Sure.
I had no idea like that you were into all of the currency stuff. You were like, oh, I like the silver and the gold and currency, and so like I that's like asking you to pick out something Superman for me. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what I
Yeah.
have, so it's nice to finally have you on the show in a medium like this, so we can, so I can at least see what the hell you
Get gift
have
ideas.
and get
Yeah,
gift
yeah,
ideas.
yeah. And more importantly, I can tell you what I want for Christmas. That's great. Yeah,
So how the hell did
yeah,
this start?
yeah. When I was young, you'd come across a $2 bill every now and then, and it would look different than the rest of the money that you had, and it kind of piqued my interest. So that was fine until high school, and then I think a silver certificate ran across my desk or my wallet at one point, and you start to journey down the rabbit hole to see what's out there, and you realize there's this whole world of stuff, and some of it is really beautiful, So um, I started to see what I could get my hands on, and interestingly enough, so for the folks who are watching, my brother and we lived in the same house as my grandmother. She lived in the second part of the house, and she had a couple old silver certs from our grandfather. And I started looking through them, and it was old, and that was it. I was hooked. So I started collecting, and then kind of took a life of its own on. So that was at this point probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's an interesting hobby. There's not a ton of people that do it. Most of the people who collect money collect coins, and I somehow figured out how to take the nerdier route of the two. But I think I have some cool stuff to show you today.
Well, that's a fantastic segue. It's like you've spoken in front of cameras before, so it's kind of weird that you
Yeah.
did that. Um, why don't you show the folks at home and your brother what you have? So, Tim Hortons, see, that's how you know that he's actually from Buffalo, New York. Tim Hortons, which is a Canadian franchise, that's like throwing a rock over the Canadian border and hitting a Tim Hortons.
Oh, there's Tim Hortons everywhere, and the coffee's great.
Yes, it is.
Um, so, I'll tell you, I struggled to figure out, there's a finite amount of time on these shows, and I have a lot of stuff. And just to give you an idea, here are 3 albums, and I have more albums and more loose money. Um, but it's probably worthwhile just to talk a little bit about the types of money that there are. So, my collection really starts in the mid 1800s.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have some old Confederate money back in the 1860s. They made fractional currency, so you'd have like 10-cent bills, 5-cent bills, which are cool, and I have a bunch of that. I have uncut sheets, like this, for instance.
Nice.
Yep. So these are all old silver certificates from 1934. And they have large size bills and they have small size bills. And I have something from every type. So I think when you're when you're collecting, just because some of it is expensive and it's not an easy hobby to get into. So once you start to collect, a lot of people gravitate towards one segment of that.
Okay.
And I kind of went the other way and tried to get a kind of a sampling of everything because I liked it all.
So
So
what would you say? So again, because like this is apart from liking money and spending money, I don't
sure,
I don't really have as much of a background. So when you
sure.
say one, people usually go one way. What way is that?
Yeah. So let's say that you choose to collect small size notes, which are similar to today's style of note, like
Mm-hmm.
the size.
Okay.
So some people like small size notes. So here I have $1,000 bill from 1934.
And my face is on the bill. That's awesome. How did you do that?
Yeah. This is Grover Cleveland. So 1934 was a good year for money. They printed some huge denominations. They printed thousands. They had $100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson on it in
Wow.
1934. I have a $500 bill with McKinley, who's actually from Buffalo, died in Buffalo. But that's one example. You have some of the older, larger size notes. So this is from 1863, the same year that a lot of the fractional currency came out. But this is a 1863 $5 legal tender. So
Wow.
this is particularly special to me because this bill is the nicest bill that's in existence of this
Really?
bill in the entire world.
Really?
Yeah, so like my collection got to a point where I think it's a little bit different than some of the other folks who collect currency in the fact that I really try to get stuff that looked like it just came off the printer.
Yeah.
And so like for something that's 170 years old, this thing is brand spanking new.
It looks like it's literally just out of the press. It looks like it could have been like printed or mint like yesterday.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'll tell you, I lived in Washington, D.C. twice in 2006 and 2010 and 11.
On
And they
purpose.
have on purpose, yeah, not homeless or anything like that. So not in a correctional facility.
Right.
So yeah. So they have the Bureau of Engraving and Printing there, where they print the money. If you ever have a chance to go there, you should do that. That's
Okay.
my favorite tourist trap in all of Washington. But there's other stuff that I have. I mean, I could show you stuff forever. 1914, they made these bills. They're large size bills, and the artwork on the back, and I'll send you pictures so you're
Yeah.
able to show them on the screen.
Please.
But
Wow.
the intricacy that went into the bills was fantastic.
Crazy.
Yeah, it really
You
was.
can even
Like
see the Statue of Liberty in the back of that bill.
I never even noticed until you just said that. You're right.
Boom.
Yeah, and this is a $10 bill from the same year. And they did like a whole industry series where all of the bills had these really intricate backs.
It's awesome.
But it's been an enriching hobby in the fact that I've learned so much about history. Who would have known? So like I ended up learning so much about the history of currency and the history of banking.
Yeah.
And you just end up acquiring all of this nerdy stuff that you never knew that you had a desire to learn.
Well,
until
it's
you start
different,
to journey down the rabbit hole.
bro. It's different. I think sometimes than other collections, like I have, and collections, Superman and comic book collections, because it's okay. Comic books were printed. Here's the comic book. It's not like this comic was printed just for this town in this state, which is stuff like what you have. Like,
I definitely have
right.
some of that. So yeah, so there was a period of time where the banks used to have their own currency. So I'm sure I have some somewhere in here. Here you go. So these were from the National Park Bank of New York, a $5 bill. This is probably 1901, 1905. So if you're collecting, so I said before that once you start to collect money, just like comics, so like some people are Marvel folks, some people are DC folks,
Right.
and then even within DC, Some people are.
Batman.
Superman.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
But yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay. um, so one of the things that you could collect are these national banknotes, and you try to get them from your state, your town. So like
That's crazy.
I have a bunch of New York bills.
From all different
Just because,
towns and stuff, or like.
yeah. So like I have some from Long Island. I have some from the city. Yeah,
Wow.
just to try to. So there are people who collect just that.
Wow.
It's fascinating. I'm fascinated by it. Man, I have so much stuff in here. So here's a 10-cent fractional bill from the Farmers and Citizens Bank of Long Island.
Wow. That is a tiny little bill.
Yeah, it's 10 cents.
Right.
And yeah, pretty crazy, man. And you have here just more of the fractional currencies from the 1860s. That's 15 cents. But it's riveting. I have an old Confederate bill here. These are actually, this is a $20 Confederate bill. There's nothing on the back.
Wow.
They did not win, so this is not worth very much if you were to spend it in a store.
Fun fact: the Confederates did not win the Civil War.
Just an FYI. That's one of the things
Spoilers.
that I learned about. Yeah, yeah.
Because school didn't teach us anything.
One of the other things that people can collect are like error notes, and I have a whole series of error notes. So like when they miscut it,
Oh wow!
when they miscut these things.
Washington even looks unhappy in that picture.
Well, they messed up his bill. Or this bill, for instance, where the serial numbers that are listed are not the same serial numbers.
Oh wow!
So
yeah.
But just a whole world of the stuff, and I had so much, like it. For me, one day when I'm old and decrepit, like if I could have my own little dream of what I would do,
Yeah.
I would open a museum. Like I would open a currency museum where I would be the only one who would walk around my museum all day and look at my historic U.S. paper currency.
Bro, you're not the first person who's come on the show who said that they wanted to open up their own museum. And I mean, yeah, it's with toys and stuff, but like, again, it sounds so, cliche and everything, but this is something that you enjoy, and you have not only gone like, I like money because it's pretty and rectangular. You're actually like, the history and the background of everything, which is crazy. Like, and now you were only collecting like United States money. You're not really like,
that's right.
You're not doing like a global type of thing. Is that something you've ever had interest in, like looking into other currency from other, countries and stuff?
I mean, I'll look at it and I can appreciate it for the aesthetic values. There's just too much. There's just there's just so much that you'd end up trying to boil the ocean, trying to collect all of these different things. And, at least for my scope, I've narrowed it down to the U.S. stuff. I have some other stuff. I have some old German stuff and some stuff from Asia, but it was too much. There's enough in the U.S. where I'll go broke just trying to do that, and I don't need to hit the other countries.
Now you get from like auction sites like Heritage Auction, which we've talked about before, and I'm assuming some stuff on eBay and other, like, have you run into? I'm sure you've run into people who have tried passing off BS and fake stuff when it comes to this, like notes. Like, you've probably run into a ton of like counterfeit, currency when it comes to this.
Yeah. So the absolutely, there are graders just like
comic books and stuff, right?
For sure, and the third-party graders are experts, obviously. So there's the two large ones are PCGS and PMG.
Okay.
Those are the two large graders. I know comics are graded on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yep.
Yeah, so the scale for currency goes up to 70, and there's not a ton of 70s out there.
That other one you had, was that a 70?
It's a 67. Yeah, it's a 67, and almost my whole collection is 64 and above, which is in good shape.
A little bit.
what people will do is dirty stuff. You know, you could bleach bills so that you take away some of the stains. You can trim bills so that if there was wear on the edges, if
Right.
you're very good, you could remove some of that wear, and you really need a professional to be able to tell if the bill has been adulterated in any way. The other thing that happens is there's third-party services that allow you to track the bills by serial number to see if they've been auctioned off before.
Really? Like a Carfax type thing?
Absolutely. You know, so let's just say, for instance, so I have a 66 here,
Right.
and this is in really good shape. But let's say this thing was like a 40, but I thought if I removed it from the holder that I could sell it in a condition that's north of 40 just by saying, you know, this, you know, someone who wants to take a risk on it, you can do that. So you use one of these vendors to see if it was graded before, if it had been auctioned or whatever.
Okay.
So eBay is notorious for that,
Shocking.
unfortunately. So so if I'm getting from eBay, I try to get some, like, I won't buy a raw ungraded bill. Like, I'll try to stay to the graded bills, and almost all of the stuff that goes through the large auction houses are graded, just to protect yourself. You know, these things are a large purchase; they're investments, and you want to be able to make sure that they're legit.
That kind of goes the same. Like, eBay's very dangerous, even when it comes to getting signatures of this guy standing over my left shoulder. It's I've seen a lot of Christopher Reeve, you know, fake autographs and stuff. I've been fortunate enough to own two. That I have two of them.
Fake or
real,
legit?
Real, legit ones.
Yeah.
You know,
did you get them from where? Can I ask? Where'd you get them from?
One,
like an auction.
One I got no auctions. One I got a friend of mine, actually eBay, but I have enough friends now through comic book connections and stuff who were able to look at it and know, based on the loops of the E's and the R and how everything looks, that it was, you know, because Chris had a couple different types of signatures, like the fast one and everything, and then like one of them I have was on the back of a playbill, and it was like to a Mike.
Cool.
It was actually written out to a Mike, and I guess whoever Mike's wife was. So it's just kind of funny that I have one that has my name on it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. But so you have just shown us, you know, a fraction of your collection. Do you have? I got to ask you. Do you have some of the ones that our grandparents had handy, or is those somewhere in another planet right now?
I have about 15 feet to my right. I'm happy to get them, but I have about 15 feet off to my right. I know exactly which ones they are. So
so why don't you grab? Well, yeah, go grab them. Grab them. Absolutely.
Several days later.
All right, I got them.
Did you change your outfit?
No.
You sure something's different?
No, just grab the bills. Just from right over there.
That's freaking weird. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now these are basically the bills that got this all started.
Yes.
Okay.
So these were the ones that, you know, were upstairs in Nanny's place. So these are just some pretty simple $5 shirts. They happen to be stars, and there's a bunch that are consecutive in serial number, and they're in okay condition, and this was it. So between the uniqueness of the $2 bills and then Pop-Op's $5 silver shirts, I was hooked, man.
Yeah.
That was it. And I was destined for a life of poverty ever since.
Now I don't know about you, but I think I still have a $2 bill in my wallet.
I don't have a $2 bill.
Yeah, because that was Dad's thing. Dad forever had a.
I remember that. I didn't remember. I have weird stuff in my wallet. I completely forgot.
Probably not safe for this broadcast, but they
we're
not. This isn't in the wallet. This is called on the shelf. Ah, you know how I know you're old?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
other historic U.S. currency, my
Uh,
Blockbuster card.
yeah, I think that there's
Yeah,
that one Blockbuster that's still open somewhere in the middle of the U.S.
that's right.
They turned it into like a bed and breakfast or some crazy crap.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, what other things do you have with, because we were talking about, because before we had recorded this, you were telling me about how um, sometimes before we went to war, where there was that anticipation potentially of us losing.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So there was so part of the hobby. Um, there's history attached to all of the notes.
absolutely.
Yeah. So in the 1930s, there were currency as part of the World War that were given to the troops, both in the North Africa campaign as well as some specific currency that was for Hawaii. And the intent was that it looked different from a normal bill should we have lost and, the enemy ended up capturing our money, it would be deemed worthless. And I
Okay.
have a bunch of that. I have a bunch of everything, but you can see that this is a North Africa bill, and
Oh
part of
yeah.
what made it unique was a yellow seal
Okay.
on the bill so that you could differentiate. This is a rag, but Hawaii, there was I don't know if you could see, but it has the big word of Hawaii right across the back.
I saw a spam. I saw spam on that one because I thought maybe that was like the canned ham. I thought maybe
Yes.
that's how you could tell that it was from Hawaii.
Well, these bills were actually included, tucked in to the ham, so that when you bit it, came right out. But yeah,
Like a Cracker Jack prize.
yes. But there were specific bills for Hawaii that was printed. So part of the hobby is the history that are attached to all of the bills. You end up learning all about the fiats. When bills were actually backed by gold,
Mm.
that was it. Stored in a reserve, and you could trade your notes in for silver or gold bullion.
Oh.
There's just so much that is attached to all of these bills that I find fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. Now, say that you had somebody who wants to get into this, somebody who
Yeah.
isn't. Do you guys? First off, let me ask: Do you folks have a term like people who connect sneakers or sneakerheads and people like that? Is there a term for like?
Nerds. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, numismatists, like you brought out earlier, but nobody uses that. There's bank strap hunters for people who look for um, serial numbers. So I think where you were going with the question is if you were, not one of the rich and famous and you wanted an introductory way to dip your toes into the water, how would someone go about doing that?
Right.
Okay, so I think that probably the easiest way are serial number collectors. So
Okay.
people who like certain serial numbers. To this day, I look through every single serial number that I get to see if it's a rare or unique serial number, and that's something easy that anyone could do, and you could pick out things that might be more valuable than face value. So I actually happen to have one right in front of me right now.
Amazing coincidence.
It really is. I was wondering why I had this out. So this is a relatively modern day 20, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But the serial number on this is 1768, which is a repeater.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so like if you knew to look for it, someone would pay a small premium over face value.
$21.
It's not going to be much more than 20. You probably get a couple bucks. It's in really good shape.
Yeah.
You probably get a couple more bucks than face value. And those sorts of things exist in circulation all of the time today.
Bank tellers must hate you.
Yes. I sit there and talk to them about currency like they really give a crap about it. So this is a 2004 Atlanta Star note.
Okay.
Which looks like a regular $10 bill. So there were very few of these printed. There were only 9,600 of them printed, but this is probably worth, 180, $200 for this $10 bill that looks like it. So there are modern day rarities too.
Okay.
But if someone were looking to get into the hobby, you can get older bills that are in rougher shape. Just the condition dictates a lot,
Of
right?
course,
So
yeah.
like you can
Same with
get
comic
older.
books.
Right, that's exactly right. So you can get older bills that are in, rougher condition if you just appreciate the aesthetics of the bill for relatively cheap, or you could look through your serial numbers that you get for special patterns, whether they be repeaters or
Hmm.
binaries, or they have a star after it. But there are things that you could do, and you can get those cheap just off of eBay if you wanted to, with a
Right.
low risk of fraud because no one's printing $5 rags. It's just not worth it.
Right. Now again, like you've said that's the second time I've heard you say rags. So obviously rags is like, I don't want to say a piece of crap, but it's more like something of less quality.
Beaten up, yeah, something that's weathered.
What are
Seen
some
its
other what are some
seen
other
its day.
fancified terms that you collectors of currency tend to throw around?
Yeah, so like I think most of it has to do with the grades. So
Okay.
like you use um superb new and choice new, uncirculated versus circulated, like those are pretty common terms.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, so what I call rags, I'm a snob for condition, so anything that's not uncirculated to me is a rag.
Okay.
Like this would probably grade fine, and you know it doesn't even make it into one of my albums because
You're
I,
you're a bougie collector.
I stick my nose up at it. Yeah, there's very few rags in my collection. I like uncirculated bills. I like it to look like it's brand new.
I mean, listen, everyone has their preference when it comes to stuff. Like years ago, when I used to collect all the Superman crap that I'm currently looking at, I'm looking at cups and plates. It's like, all right, well, and that's fine. That was my preference then, but now I'm not looking to collect those things, and I'm looking to of higher quality, of some sort of rarity and everything. So I
That's
get
right.
it.
That's exactly right. Like if I'm gonna spend money on a bill,
Hmm.
at this point I want it to be a different. I want it to add to the collection, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want it like you want it to add value to your collection.
Right. And as you
Yeah,
said before, it's not necessarily sometimes what someone else would find value to the collection. It's what you like, something that you are appreciative of when it comes to this stuff.
that's exactly right. So I had that Manhasset bill that I had showed, and if not, I'll get a better picture for. I got that in a post auction buy, which means that it went on auction and no one bought it, and I got it at a discount.
Right.
Like, so only like, so that just goes to your
Right.
point. Yeah, that's what I was interested in.
Right. I totally get it. So okay, um, we talk a lot on this show about Grail pieces and pieces that we love and we'd always wish that we had. I mean,
Yeah,
Superman collectors are. I mean, you're talking either some piece of a Christopher Reeve costume, whether it's even a screen worn cape or a walking or flying or an Action Comics #1 that doesn't look like it was in Grandma and Grandpa's basement.
yeah.
Um, so if you had access to a TARDIS or a DeLorean or Bill and Ted's freaking phone booth, and unlimited access to money that isn't in a freaking photo
Sure.
album or something, then you could buy whatever piece you wanted. What would you say is that Grail item for you if you don't already own it?
Yeah. Can I get clarification just before we go on? I mean, because we might as well educate your guest at your
You're the guest.
uh,
You are the guest there,
yeah,
dear.
I guess guests. So, what was the first one that you used?
I said TARDIS.
What is that?
Okay, so a TARDIS. Now I'm of my many different uh, interests when it comes to genres with superhero genres. It's actually from Doctor Who. Doctor Who. It's actually the big. And I'm going to reach off camera for a second. It is the large police box that is basically considered the time machine. So I'm going to grab it.
How on earth would I? I would never have known this.
Well, you wouldn't, but
Yeah.
the 15 people that watch it would know exactly what this is.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, got it on
Okay.
Etsy. Good stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, okay, but again, it's a time machine.
Yeah.
Basically, the long story short is time machine. So what
Got it.
would you say now? Again, this for the nobody who knows, with the exception of you and I, this interview was supposed to take place a couple weeks ago, but you had told me, hold off, let's hold off. I'm going for a couple things which I consider to be like grail pieces.
Yeah.
So now here we are. Did you get those pieces, and would you consider them to be your grail items?
Yeah. So I lost. The two that I really wanted, I lost.
Okay.
I did get some nice stuff, but the stuff that I really wanted, I ended up losing, and they're still my grail items.
Okay.
So like anything with the serial number of 1 on it. So like if you have a large print type of bill
Right.
that there were a lot made, and you have a 1 that is in good condition, for me, that that's it. That'll do it for me.
I can't imagine they come up very often when it comes to auctions.
Very infrequently, and there happened to be 2 in this one auction, both of which I lost. But like, at what point I have to feed my children at the end of the day. So like, I had to pick what was the right thing.
And money is not edible.
Correct. I keep trying, but yeah. So like, I lost, but I really want something with serial numbers of 1 attached to it. For me, that's the pinnacle. No one else will ever have that.
Right.
Right. There is like the uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
Is
that's huge. I get it.
I really want it. So like, there are a couple big auctions that come up, and I'll keep my eyes peeled. But that's on the list. That's probably my grail.
Now the auctions. I mean,
I have more too because I'm greedy. But go on.
Greedy is fine. We could listen. That's not the next question. Will be the one that you have to narrow your selection down.
Yeah.
But this one is fine. So now, before you get into the next grail piece, now I know that like we have Comic-Cons and there's all sorts of stuff like that for us. Sure. You don't really have the same kind of stuff. You just have basically like the auctions, and that's really all that goes on for collectors of any sort of currency, right? You don't like go to like the Jacob Javits Center and they don't have tables and booths set up where people display all of their their wares when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, they're mostly attached to auctions in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So like, there's a couple big ones. I mean, there are occasionally shows, but like a lot of them are smaller shows. The bigger shows, there's one out in Baltimore, and there's some in Dallas, and out in California. But they're in many respects often tied to larger auctions, especially, and at those auctions there are very nice pieces. Those are the ones that I end up chasing.
What are the bigger auctions? Like which are like the top ones for you when it comes to stuff?
Heritage has a signature auction. It has a couple signature auctions that I have catalogs. I'm not going to go off camera to get it.
It could be another month before we see you, so probably not.
Honestly, I love saving even the catalogs from these things.
Really?
Because the stuff that gets auctioned off is sick.
Yeah.
So like, at the same auction that just passed in September, which was bonkers. Like, they had so many nice pieces, including those number 1s. There was other stuff that was absolutely beautiful. So like, the other stuff that I would say would be part of my grail list is in 1934. There was the $500 and $1,000 bills that were printed.
Yeah.
The $5,000 and $10,000 bills are disgusting. Just so unbelievably nice. To have one of those would be really a huge deal. But I think it's probably $250,000 plus for some of those.
Now you're talking $250,000 for like one that isn't craptastic, or you're talking like even like a lesser quality one is that kind of cash?
A good quality one is gonna cost you $250,000 easy.
Okay, I mean, I get it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna offer.
Well, you know what I do for a living, so I don't think I've made that in my career. So I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you're getting any loans from your dear brother. So
I don't foresee it happening unless I hit on a scratch off or something. But
it's all right.
Yeah, some of those bills are great. I think one day Who knows?
One day. Listen, dude. I mean, that's always that's why they're called the Grail items, man. You know, there's everyone has that piece, and I can't tell you how many times. Like, okay, perfect example. For a long time, I had wanted these bookends, these Superman bookends,
Are you
and
talking about the one with Doomsday on
you
it?
are spoiling the crap out of this story.
Okay.
So, so I looked at them for a long time, and they were so freaking cool. And I wind up trying to get them on eBay, trying to find them, and they're just either a stupid amount of money or you can't find them because they're like not in the box or like they were out on like a comic book store.
Yeah,
So they look like shit. Pardon my language, I get one. So, lo and behold, I get them from you.
that's right.
So that was one of honestly that was one of my Grail items. That those bookends were one of the big items for me that I had always wanted. Yeah, now listen, again, like I said before, a costume from Christopher, from Christopher Reeves or Action Comics, but that was one of those ones that it doesn't have to be a lot of money or it doesn't have to be like whatever. It's just one of those pieces that you've always wanted,
Yeah,
and that was one of them. To be no BS, that was always one of
that's
the
good.
things I always wanted. So
Christmas.
unbeknownst, you didn't know, but here we are.
Yeah. All right, that's good to know. I looked up, just so you know, I have looked up um, screen worn costumes from Christopher Reeves.
Reeve.
Yeah, a Reeve. Thank you. I would.
Oof.
Yeah, I wouldn't be expecting that as a gift anytime soon.
Don't worry, I'm not holding my breath
Yeah.
as we said. But I got to tell you, on a side note, I did wind up getting a costume from this company called Super Costumes, which does basically, I think, the closest replica to Reeves with the apostrophe S
Got it.
costume. I gotta say it, bro, because you don't. That's one of those big things. I'm sure you guys have things in your world which you want to correct and punch people in the face about all the time. This is one of them. So it's the fabric. I mean, you can't obviously get the same rolls of fabric, but like the
Yeah,
stitching and how they do everything, it's like so freaking spot on.
that's cool.
So I it's the closest I'm gonna get probably for a very long time, if ever, of owning a piece of that kind of level of collecting.
Yeah, you never know, man.
No, you never
Never
know.
know. Never know.
No. So, okay, speaking of now this whole world of collecting, I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you the question which you probably have it's going to be tough for you to answer. But
Okay.
if you had only one shelf in your house, apartment, room,
Yeah.
whatever, and you were only allowed 3 items from this collection of yours,
Yeah.
what 3 items would be on that shelf?
Oh gosh. Um.
We asked the hard-hitting questions here. So,
Yeah, that's a tough one. God, I'm worried about what would happen to the rest of my collection. What happens to the rest of my collection in this
your
scenario?
your boys put them in vending machines and
Yeah.
play catch with them and draw faces on them, and
Yeah. Oh my God.
and
Feel,
they give them to their kids where they buy Nintendo with them or a motorcycle.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Ugh. I feel sick. Um. Okay. So the first one is one I showed earlier. The first one would probably be this legal tender, this $5 grade 67.
Yeah,
This is a nice piece, and this is the highest graded piece that exists
it's
from.
beautiful. The artwork is
Yeah,
beautiful on it.
and it's from 1863. Like, to think that this thing has survived 160 years and is in this shape.
It's in ridiculous shape.
Oh, it's almost perfect. It's
Yeah,
the best shape of any of this type of bill that exists. It's
yeah.
very nice. So that's one of them. The second, okay. So
Okay.
I talked about this bill before,
Mm-hmm.
which is the $10 Star Note from Atlanta,
Yep.
2004.
Yep.
So I have an uncut sheet. I don't want to touch it, and it's not in. Oh God, here we go.
Without
So I have
oof.
an uncut sheet that's signed by the Secretary of Treasury from 2004. And while this is not super valuable. It's probably worth $1,000.
Okay.
While this thing is not super valuable, it is unique.
Yeah.
You don't see a ton of sheets that are cut the way that it's cut, and the courtesy signature adds something to it. It was one of the first sheets that I bought, and it was one of the first times that I realized that stuff that they're printing today, 150 years from now, there'll be some kid who's dying to,
Right.
yeah, who's dying to have this thing.
But it's very true,
Probably
though.
all.
But you would be surprised. It's going to, things like this. Collectors of anything have been around forever. I mean, with the exception of like even Beanie Babies. People, even though that fad ended, or for the most part at large, people still collect Beanie Babies. You
Is
know?
that true?
Yeah. No, it is. I
Do you
swear.
remember when that whole thing took off? People were like, their life savings into,
I know.
nuts.
But again, look at you. Look at how much you've spent on on currency, on old
Yeah.
U.S. Notes and everything. So it's just, it keeps going, and 150 years from now, there will be somebody, if some, one of your ancestors or relatives at that point, could still have it, could want it, could be
Yeah.
completely into it. You know what I mean?
You know what's something that I'm kind of curious to? So I'll get to my third piece, which is a toss up between two. But you know what? I'm kind of curious to see what happens. What's going to impact this hobby to some degree? Maybe a little longer than that, but you have to figure paper currency will go the way of the dinosaur, right?
You
So,
think?
like
Yeah.
at some point, almost inevitably,
Right.
and now COVID is almost expediting that whole process just by virtue of the fact that no one wants to handle cash. Everything's being handled electronically. At some point, like paper currency will probably go away, and I can't tell if that will enhance the population that is interested in collecting it, or if it will completely crush it.
I think again, dude. I think there's always going to be people who are interested. You look at, even somewhere, somebody will still be interested in collecting currency from the early 2000s or something. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
gonna. It's.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always going to be a thing. Will it be as popular?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not that popular right now. You know, like I have to laugh because you keep referring to what people in my circle refer to, things like, oh, what do people in your circle call this or that? What
Right.
terms do you use? I don't know a whole lot of people in my circle. Most of the people in my circle are, from similar to, I guess, many collections. It's from an online forum or Reddit, or I know one other person in real life that collects paper money. That's it.
Okay.
Um,
Are they twice your age?
they're not. They are my age, and they appreciate it for the same reason.
It's good.
It's a dying right.
It is.
Most of the people who
Look at stamps.
collect, are old guys.
Stamps. You don't need stamps. Stamps are basically all but like collector's items now. I mean, you could print labels out, like for businesses and stuff. You just get a label maker and just print stuff out, and it's done. People use it for weddings now and like as collector pieces.
Yeah.
So I get it. But you don't collect things. I mean, you don't collect things necessarily worrying about if it's going to be,
Correct. I collect it because I enjoy collecting it,
Right.
not because I'm looking to strike a rich or anything. So, like, if
Yeah.
this whole thing is valueless in 10 years from now, it will still be so valuable to me. Like
That's it.
I won't. Yeah, I don't care about the. I don't care about the value of it. Like that doesn't. It's
Right.
not what does it for me.
And that, my friend, my brother, is the whole reason for this show, because
Yeah.
I'm not looking for somebody to come on here with their $15 million collection, which they could easily flip for $50 million. I'm looking for the people who are like, I like this $5 silver certificate because of what it means to me. That's
Dude,
that's what I mean.
That's my whole collection, man.
Yeah.
I like this whole thing because it's stuff that is tied to history. It looks beautiful. I
Right.
found some from my dead grandfather.
Yeah.
My last Grail piece. I'll throw in my my $1934,000 bill just because it's cool. I don't know, either that or
Well,
I have.
this is the third piece for the shelf.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a close call between this and some uncut um, silver certs that I have from 1924 and 1934, 1928 and 1934.
Amazing.
These are rare. There was only but a few that were printed to begin with. A lot of them were cut by idiots. Um, so like there's not a ton of them, and it probably is that there's a ton of $1,000 bills around, and those are easily replaceable, but these are not.
Okay.
But,
So
yeah.
there you go. Awesome. Now I'm going to at the end of this episode, I'm probably just if you know of any links and stuff that people could get into, to start,
Sure.
looking into stuff. I mean, apart from just Googling the serial numbers.
Money. Yeah.
I like money. How do I get
Yeah.
more of collector money? No,
Yeah.
it's I would appreciate if you could just give me a couple links or something, or start, where people could potentially start this. And like we said, even if they have their kids at the bank with them, or at the cash register, and they just they want to do something, especially with everything going on. I mean, hell, people are still home and everything. This would be kind of neat for somebody to just go into their their wallet and sit with their kids about like what potentially they could or couldn't have. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. I know that there are people who do this with coins too. Like they buy rolls of coins and look for whatever they look for. I don't know. I don't know. I know almost nothing about the coin world, but
It's okay. They're next. That's like
yeah,
that's like episode like 35. Coin guy.
okay, yeah.
Or coin
I know nothing.
coin gal.
I'll have to watch that. I know almost nothing. But I know that they do look for stuff in their rolls, whatever. Right. So yeah, there's tons. I'll provide you some links to look at.
Aces. All right. Yeah. Well, bro, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me.
It's been really interesting. Again, like I've said before, I knew nothing about A, this being your hobby, and B, really nothing about the whole world of collecting, even old the US notes. So it's been really cool.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And folks, I appreciate you tuning in. It's been a family reunion of sorts. So it's been a good time. And if you haven't done so yet, there's a button right down there. It says subscribe. Just have to hit it once. I promise. It's going to be worth it. We have all sorts of people coming on the show. So it's kind of neat. And if you have a collection that you are interested in showing off, reach out to me. All my contact information is in the description. Email, social media, whatever. I'm interested. Again, thank you. And have a good one.